Good evening, everyone. We will begin the VPIM at 7:05. Just waiting on some more folks to enter the meeting here. Good evening, everyone. If you're just joining us, we are waiting on some more folks to trickle in here before starting the VPIM. We plan on starting at 7:05. Good evening, everyone. If you're just joining us, we are waiting on some more people to join us here before getting started with the presentation. Please be patient. Thank you. All right, we will begin the presentation. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual public information meeting for state project number 01401-0158, which is the replacement of bridge number 03474 carrying US Route 200 West over I-395 in Thompson, Connecticut. My name is Yusuf Vlashi, and I am the project engineer with the Connecticut Department of Transportation for this project. We hope that everyone finds this presentation informative and that we will be able to answer any questions or concerns you may have. You will also see on the screen the project email where you will be able to ask us questions during and after this presentation. That project email is dotproject0141-0158@ct.gov. You'll be able to also ask us questions by leaving a voicemail at 860-594-2020 or by contacting the project manager at 860-594-2078. There's also a project webpage where you will be able to access information about the project that contains plans and estimates. That is at https://portal.ct.gov/DOT Thompson 141-158. Next slide, please. So before we get started with the main presentation, I want to walk through the goals and format for tonight's meeting. First, I'll start off by introducing the project team, including the department's leadership and our consultant liaisons and the design team. Also, how to interact with us during the meeting. Then we will have a technical portion of the presentation, which will include the condition of the existing structure, the purpose and need for the project, and the recommended design, which has progressed to about a 30% level. The plans, schedule, and dates are in the preliminary design phase and are subject to change if needed. Following the technical presentation, we will open up the forum to comments and questions. Next slide, please. As part of Title VI Civil Rights, no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from the participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. A link is provided on this slide for additional civil rights information. We would greatly appreciate if you would complete the public survey after tonight's meeting. A link and a QR code are provided on this slide. Links to both the public survey and the civil rights flyer are also available on the project website mentioned on the first slide. A recording of this presentation will be posted to YouTube after the event. Closed captioning and non-English translation options are available on Zoom and YouTube. Next slide, please. This is Title VI Notice to the Public, which states that the Connecticut Department of Transportation operates its programs and services without regard to race, color, and national origin in accordance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes he or she has been aggrieved by any unlawful discriminatory practice under Title VI may file a complaint with the CTDOT. Next slide, please. This is Title VI Notice to Public in Spanish. We'll do a brief pause here for any Spanish-speaking attendees on the call. Next slide, please. Available to those joining us through Zoom is the option to view captions or subtitles. To turn this feature on, select the Show Captions button or the CC button at the bottom of your screen, then select the Speaking Language button, and then select the desired language as shown on the right hand there. Next slide, please. To submit questions to the project team, use the Zoom Q&A function by selecting the Q&A button at the bottom of the webinar window. The Q&A window will open as seen on the right. Then you can type the question in the text box and click enter, and it will submit the question. Next slide, please. There are 3 ways you'll be able to communicate with us during and after this meeting. You can submit questions via email at dotproject0141-0158@ct.gov, by phone number and leaving a voicemail at 860-594-2020 or 860-594-2078. The Q&A box can be used if you're joining us through Zoom application. We just explained how to use this on the previous slide. And also the project webpage contains information on how to ask us questions. Also, that project webpage is https://portal.ct.gov/dot Thompson 141-158. I'd like to make a note that the comment period is open through July 15, 2024. So if there's a question you have after tonight's meeting, you have the ability to do that. Next slide, please. I'd like to now introduce the project team. First, from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, we have Bartholomew Sweeney, the Division Chief of Bridges, Derek Lassard, the Principal Engineer, Francisco Fadul, the Project Manager, and myself, Isu Vlashi, the Project Engineer. If we could go to the next slide, please. On the Consultant Liaison team, we have Rich Armstrong, the Program Manager for GM2, Dennis Garceau, the Project Manager for GM2, and on the design team, we have Eldiko Yuhaz, who is the Project Manager at Mott MacDonald, and Frank Billetier, who is the Project Lead at Mott MacDonald. Next slide, please. At this point, I will pass this over to Eldiko over at Mott MacDonald to begin the technical portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Yusuf. So again, my name is Ildiko Juhász. I am from Mott MacDonald, and we are the design engineers for the state project 141-158 that involves the replacement of Bridge 3474. In the next few minutes, I will present you the design development for this bridge. Currently, we are in the preliminary design phase, which means the design is about 30% complete. So some of the sketches I will show in my presentation are still preliminary or conceptual, and the structure and the details will be further developed in the final design phase. So Bridge 3474 is on Route 200. In Thompson, it connects Buckley Hill Road with Quiddick Road. It is located over Interstate I-395 at exit 50. Here is a closer view of the bridge. They are on and off ramps between Route 200 and I-395 at both ends of the bridge. At this location, Route 200 is a 2-lane roadway with an average daily traffic of 4,800 vehicles per day. Route 200 has 2 12-foot lanes and a 40-foot minimum total roadway width. So before we get into the details, I wanted to go over some bridge terminology to explain what the different terms mean. So here is a diagram of a typical bridge. On the top, we have the deck that is usually constructed from reinforced concrete, and it is often covered by asphalt. That's where the cars drive on. Both sides of the deck are protected by a parapet, which can be bridge rail or concrete barrier. The deck is supported by girders. These are steel or concrete beams that span between the bearings. The deck and the girders together are sometimes called the superstructure. The bearings transfer the weight of the superstructure and the load from the cars driving on it onto the intermediate supports called piers and the end supports that are called abutments. The piers and the abutments together form the substructure. Now, all these elements are inspected every 2 years by certified bridge inspectors who record the condition of these elements. And there is a standardized numbering system called Bridge Condition Ratings that is being used by the Federal Highway Administration. It uses numbers 9 to 1, 9 being excellent, 8 very good, and so on. Usually, the bridge owner needs to start planning for major rehabilitation or replacement when the number gets to about 5. However, in case there is an immediate repair that's needed for any bridge, the department takes action right away to perform emergency repairs or closes the bridge temporarily in order to keep the traveling public safe. So our bridge is very similar to one I just showed you. Here is the concrete deck, the parapet, and then the steel girders. Our bridge has also 3 spans. Here is the in plan. It has 2 piers and 2 abutments. Now that we went over these parameters, let's review the condition of this existing bridge. It was built in 1967, so it's almost 60 years old. It had some maintenance repairs in the past, but no major rehab work was done. And based on the latest inspection reports, the deck is rated 5, which is fair. The girders are also rated 5, and the piers are rated 6. Also, the vertical clearance is low. It's only 16 feet 1 inches, where the minimum required clearance is 16 feet 3 inches. The parapets also don't meet current design standards, and the bridge load rating is below 1, which means its load carrying capacity is below what is required by Connecticut DOT. The bridge is still safe to drive on, but these numbers mean it does not meet current design standards, which have evolved significantly since the bridge was designed in the 60s. So taking a closer look, here are some pictures. The first one on the left shows the underside of the deck with, we can see the spalls in the concrete with rusted exposed rebar, and there are several spalls like this along the deck. The picture in the middle shows the girders. You can see the rust, and there are section losses at several locations. And then the third picture on the right shows the girder ends at the bearings. Again, there is a lot of rust and some section loss. By the way, section loss means the steel plates have become thinner due to the rust, so the member does not have as much load carrying capacity than when it was designed and built. Looking at the substructure, there are lots of small cracks in the concrete abutments and the wing walls, and the concrete piers have a lot of spalls as well, and some hollow areas and rust stains. Up in the top at the deck level, we can see also some cracks, spalls, especially at the joint locations. So because all of this deterioration, this build is due for replacement. So this slide shows the proposed bridge in a plan view. You can see the bridge structure in orange color, the deck, and the substructure. The vertical elevation of the roadway will be only raised by about 6 inches. Therefore, the new bridge will have a minimum impact on the surrounding roadway. The yellow areas show the areas where the pavement will be resurfaced, And we have shown with green the areas where the earthwork will be needed to adjust the existing grade to adapt to the new bridge. So looking at the elevations, the existing bridge has 3 spans, one over I-395 southbound lanes, one over the median, and the third one over I-395 northbound. It has 2 concrete piers in the median and 2 abutments at the ends. The new bridge will have only 2 spans, one each at I-395 southbound and northbound, and it will have a common abutment in the median. This proposed layout eliminates the need for constructing 2 reinforced concrete center piers. The common abutment in the middle and the 2 abutments at the ends will be constructed from a system called Geosynthetic Reinforced Soil Integrated Bridge System, shortly GRS-IBS. These types of abutments can be constructed quicker and are less expensive than the conventional reinforced concrete substructures. And the application of this system has several advantages. It is easy to design and economical to construct. And it can be built in variable weather conditions with readily available labor, materials, and equipment. Here is a very similar bridge over I-91 in North Haven that was built a few years ago. You can see the 2 spans over the highway, the common abutment in the median, and the end abutments. Our new bridge of this type will have a 75-year design life, and it will have the lowest life cycle cost of all the alternatives that were evaluated during the preliminary engineering phase. Life cycle costs are calculated by adding up all the costs associated with the bridge during its life. They include not just construction costs, but costs of inspections, routine maintenance, painting, minor repairs, as well as anticipated future rehabilitation and strengthening, as well as the demolition costs at the end. So taking a closer look at the cross-section, the new bridge will be slightly wider than the existing. It will have a uniform overall width of 52.5 feet. And this wider width will provide an improved side distance for the I-395 southbound off-ramp. It will have 2 12-foot lanes, plus 2 7.5 feet shoulders on both sides, plus a dedicated left turn lane in the middle. The superstructure will be similar to the existing. It will have a concrete deck supported on steel girders. And these girders will be designed and dimensioned such to achieve an increased vertical clearance under the bridge without having to raise the roadway much. The new bridge also have new concrete barriers that will meet current design standards and the protective fence on the top. And these lower 2 sections show the geosynthetic reinforced soil abutments. And as I mentioned earlier, the new bridge will have added left turn lanes in the middle. They are shown here and there. These dedicated left turn lanes will improve the traffic flow on Route 200. We developed this plan in accordance with the complete street determination by Connecticut DOT. Now, there are several overhead utilities that run along Route 200 on the southern side. There is an electric line owned by Eversource, communication lines by Frontier and Crowncaster Fiber, and there are no underground utilities at this site. During construction of the new bridge, these overhead utilities will have to be temporarily relocated off the bridge to the south side. As far as environmental impacts, A wetland flagging program did not identify any wetlands at this site. Therefore, there will be no wetland or watercourse impacts. The environmental review has been completed, and this project is classified as a categorical exclusion under NEPA. However, the project will need to file for the construction stormwater general permit. As far as right-of-way impacts, the structure is located entirely within the state right-of-way. Therefore, no temporary or permanent property impacts are anticipated. Now let's talk about construction. As I mentioned earlier, this type of bridge with two simple spans and the GRS-IBS abutments is a fast and cost-effective method of bridge construction. The new bridge can be constructed within a year. However, these types of abutment structures cannot be built in stages in order to maintain traffic, and therefore a full bridge closure and detour is needed during construction. While the bridge will be closed, local traffic between North Grosvenor Dale and the center of Thompson will be detoured onto Route 200, Riverside Drive, and Thompson Road. This detour is about 5.3 miles long, and it takes approximately 9 minutes to drive. The on and off ramps at the I-395 and Route 200 interchange will remain open during construction, and drivers can also use the on and off ramps at I-395 exit 49. And there will be times when during demolition of the existing superstructure and erection of the new bridge, the northbound and the southbound lanes on I-395 may need to be closed for very short intervals. And during these activities, traffic will be diverted onto the on and off ramps of exit 50 to bypass the construction site. Now, as I mentioned earlier, construction is anticipated to be completed in one season. The preliminary construction cost estimate right now is $13.5 million, 80% of which is funded by the federal government and 20% will be funded by the state. To talk a little bit about schedule, so as Yusuf mentioned, we are in the preliminary design phase, and we anticipate final design will start later this summer. And the design will be completed in the spring of 2026. After this, the design document will be sent out for bidding, and after awarding the contract to the successful bidder, construction will start in the fall of 2026, and we anticipate it to be finished by 2027. So now I will turn it over to Dennis, who will go over the question and answer process again.
Thank you, Aldika. Hi, my name is Dennis Garceau. I work with GM2 Associates. We are the consultant liaison engineer on behalf of the Connecticut DOT for this particular project. If you want to move to the next slide, please. Essentially, I will help MC the questions and answers session. Just a couple of things to note again, which you'll also notice that in the chat, we have basically dropped this information, like the contact via email at DOT project 0141-0158@ct.gov, or you can leave voicemails. Make sure to mention the state project number 141-158 in that voicemail to either 860-594-2020 or to Francisco Fadul, who's the Condot project manager, at 860-594-2078. Also, you'll be able to ask questions through the Zoom Q&A feature. Questions will be posted, will be answered in the Zoom chat. And also just to note that there is a project website, https://portal.ct.gov, DOT Thompson 141-158. And also noting again that we'll have a 2-week comment period following this meeting through July 15th, 2024, which you can, if you have any questions or comments, you can use the email, the phone, or you can get those links as well on the webpage. So we'll wait a few minutes for some questions to come in. There's a question that just came in. When will construction for the bridge start? Eldika?
Yes, sorry. So again, we anticipate that the construction will start in the fall of 2026. And as I mentioned earlier, we anticipate the bridge will be constructed within 1 year, so it will be finished by the fall of 2027.
So if you do, just remind you that if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the Q&A feature. There is basically, the function is on the bottom of the Zoom. It's basically a Q&A. So we have another question that just came in. Will the road need to be closed during construction? It's like Frank is going to handle that answer. Frank, I think you're on mute. Frank, I think you have it on mute.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah,
There it is.
There it is.
Okay, yes, Thompson Hill Road will be closed during construction. A detour using Riverside Drive and Thompson Road is proposed. Ildiko had showed it on one of her slides. Here it is. That detour is approximately 5.3 miles long and will take approximately 9 minutes to travel.
Looks like there's a another question that just came in. Will there be a solicitation or an RFP for CE&I services? Francisco is going to answer that.
Good evening, Francisco Fadul here, the Connecticut DOT. That determination is going to be made by the construction office as we come closer to the advertising for construction. Normally Connecticut DOT does a solicitation for this type of project.
Thanks, Francisco. Just to remind you again, the comment period for this presentation is through July 15th, 2024. During that period, you'll be able to ask questions either by email, DOT project 0141-0158@ct.gov, by phone, voicemail 860-594-2020, or Francisco Verdul, Condot Project Manager 860-594-2020. 2078. Also, you can get some information on our project webpage at https://portal.ct.gov DOT Thompson 141-158. Oh, here's another question that came in. Are there any impacts to private properties anticipated? Looks like Frank is going to answer that.
This project will be built completely within the state right of way, so there will be no impacts to private properties.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, another question. Will an emergency turnaround be created on I-395 northbound for emergency vehicles? 9 minutes can be the difference between life and death. Looks like Frank is going to answer that question.
Yeah, we will certainly look for a spot that we can build a turnaround. You're absolutely right. 9 minutes can be a difference between life and death. However, all precautions will be made for emergency vehicles that they can traverse this detour as fast as possible.
And please add any of your questions and comments within the Zoom Q&A feature by simply clicking on the Q&A button on the bottom of the screen, and you can basically type in the dialog box your question. Looks like we have another question. Will power have to be cut off to houses nearby when relocating utilities? Frank?
It's anticipated that power will be temporarily shut off when they transfer the services to the new utility poles. These will be short-term disruptions, and they might be avoided based on the utility company's means and methods of transferring the services. So as we get closer to construction, we would know a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Frank. So we'll wait a few more minutes to see if there's any other questions that come in. There is another question. Where is the yard for the construction company and project engineers going to be located? Eldiko?
Yes, I can start answering the question. So as we move further into the design phase, we will, establish locations where construction offices and laydown areas can be anticipated. So that is still in development. It's going to be somewhere near the project location.
So we have another question that came in. Will there be any explosives used in dismantling the old bridge?
I can answer that one as well. No, the existing bridge is a fairly typical type of construction that could be disassembled using construction machinery. So no blasting will be needed.
Any other questions? Again, I'll wait a few more minutes. Just remind everyone that there'll be comment period open through July 15th, 2024. During that period, you can send your questions and comments by email at dotproject0141-0158@ct.gov, or leave a voicemail with the project number referenced 141-158 by phone 860-594-2020 or 860-594-2078. Also, after this meeting, if you want more information on the project, there's the project webpage, https://portal.ct.gov, DOT Thompson 141-158. Let's wait about another minute or so, see if there's any more answers or questions that will come in. If not, then we'll close out the meeting. All right, I guess we'll, Yusuf, you're gonna.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Okay.
say, we also checked the voicemail box and there was no messages that came in. Maybe give another minute for anybody else to have any questions for us here. If not, we thank everybody for attending tonight's meeting and providing input on the project. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the project team via email or phone. And please note the comment period is open through July 15th, as previously mentioned. So maybe just give it another minute and
We just got one more question. Due to limited availability of construction materials currently, do you anticipate delays? Aldiko?
No, currently we are not anticipating any delays. The contractor will be given plenty of time to do the ordering of materials, and currently most of the DOT projects don't foresee any kind of construction related delays due to material shortness.
Looks like Yusuf, there's no other questions that came in through the Q&A at this time.
Yep. Thank you everybody for joining us in tonight's meeting. Once again, we appreciate all the feedback and input we received for this project and all of your time here. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the project team if you do have any further questions. At this time, we will end the meeting. Thank you.